Hello and welcome to DSW's Endpoint Assessment for the Level 3 Business Administrator Standard. My name's Isobel, I'm a Product Owner at DSW and I'll be talking you through this standard today. This recording is designed to give you an overview of what will happen during Endpoint Assessment, what to expect, when it will take place, but also how apprentices can prepare and what support is available. By the end of this, you should have a clear understanding of how the process will work and what the requirements are. And of course, if there are any questions or anything you need more information on, we'll show you where to go for additional support at the end of the recording. Today we'll be discussing what the endpoint assessment process looks like, how and when it will be delivered, what happens during the assessment itself, and we'll go into more detail about the Business Administrator Standard, how each assessment method works, and how it will be graded. When does endpoint assessment happen? For this standard, endpoint assessment can be triggered when the on-programme phase is complete, functional skills have been achieved, it's been agreed that the apprentice is competent, and the portfolio and project are complete. The next stage is called Gateway, and this is where the apprentice needs to be prepared for endpoint assessment. What happens during endpoint assessment? The apprentice completes the assessments detailed in the assessment plan. There is still an expectation that the apprenticeship training provider will support apprentices throughout the endpoint assessment period. This is to ensure that they're familiar with what's to come and so mock exams can be completed with them. In order to pass and be deemed competent, the apprentice must pass all of the assessments. This typically happens over a period of 3 months from the point they are approved for Gateway. This standard is made up of knowledge, skills and behaviours, and these are mapped to 50 pass and 49 distinction descriptors. Some of these are mapped to specific assessment methods and some can be assessed in either the project presentation or the portfolio-based interview. We refer to these as core and additional descriptors. All core and additional descriptors must be met in order to pass this standard. The mapping document in the toolkit details which descriptors are assessed by each method and contains detailed information on what's required to meet each descriptor in full. All evidence submitted must be clearly labelled, dated and referenced. All documents should be amended or redacted appropriately to ensure confidentiality and data protection are adhered to and that no GDPR breaches occur. The Gateway requirements include submission of a portfolio of evidence and the completed project summary and referencing document available in the toolkit. The Business Administrator Endpoint Assessment consists of 3 assessment methods which we deliver in the following order: the knowledge test, project improvement presentation and portfolio-based interview. Once the apprentice has been approved for Gateway, the assessor will make contact to arrange a planning meeting to confirm the timings of the assessments. Knowledge test. The apprentice will undertake a knowledge test which must be taken under exam conditions. The knowledge test is completed online using question mark. The apprentice will be provided with a guide and login details for question mark once they've been approved for Gateway. The knowledge test will consist of 50 equally weighted multiple choice questions. Each will have 4 possible answers, one of which will be correct. The apprentice will have a maximum of 60 minutes to complete the test. The apprentice must correctly answer at least 30 questions to achieve a pass and at least 40 to achieve a distinction. Once the apprentice has access to question mark, they will also have access to a mock test, which will allow them to test the functionality of the system. It will also demonstrate the structure and type of questions used. A paper copy of the mock question paper and mock answer sheet are provided in the toolkit. DSW will issue the results within 5 working days of the knowledge test being taken. Project improvement presentation with Q&A. The apprentice will complete a project or improve a process. This must only be started from month 9 of the apprenticeship programme and must be completed prior to endpoint assessment being triggered. The project or improvement should be work-based and account for 21 to 35 working hours. Examples can be found in the toolkit. The project summary and portfolio referencing document confirms which core descriptors are assessed in the project improvement presentation with Q&A. When planning their project or improvement, apprentices should pay close attention to the wording of the descriptors and ensure that evidence fully meets them. More information on this can be found in the toolkit. The project summary and portfolio referencing document contains a project improvement template which the apprentice must complete. The assessor will review the project template and provide a question that the apprentice must address in their presentation. The question will be provided within 2 weeks of Gateway approval. The question provided will depend on the nature of the project or improvement and the coverage of grading descriptors. Sample questions are available in the toolkit. The apprentice is also able to select which additional descriptors they will evidence in the project presentation with Q&A and which they will evidence in the portfolio. We recommend this is split equally between each method. Project improvement presentation. The project or improvement must allow the apprentice to evidence scoping, planning, managing, communication to stakeholders, monitoring and reporting results. The apprentice should prepare a 10 to 15 minute presentation. This should cover the questions set by the independent assessor and the descriptors evidenced in the project. The presentation will be followed by a short break to allow the assessor to finalise their questions. There will then be a 10 to 15 minute Q&A to allow the apprentice the maximum opportunity to meet the grading descriptors. Example questions can be found in the toolkit. The presentation is expected to be produced using presentation software such as Microsoft Office, PowerPoint, Prezi, Keynote or Google Slides, demonstrating a minimum level of IT skills. The apprentice will deliver their presentation to the independent assessor. The presentation and Q&A will be held in an environment free from distraction via an online video conferencing platform such as WebEx or Zoom, as advised by the assessor. You may ask to use an alternative platform if necessary. It's strongly recommended that this platform is tested prior to the date of assessment to avoid technical problems and ensure familiarity with the platform. Following the presentation and Q&A, the assessor will issue a grade and feedback to the ATP via the assessment record. This will be done within 5 working days of the assessment date. Portfolio of evidence. A portfolio should be compiled on programme with examples of the apprentice's work throughout their apprenticeship. Examples cannot be collected until the apprentice has completed 3 months on programme. The portfolio must be submitted at Gateway and will be used to support the interview but will not be assessed or graded. The portfolio referencing document details which core descriptors are assessed in the portfolio-based interview. The document should be used to map the evidence for all of the core descriptors and any additional descriptors for which evidence is being provided in the portfolio. We recommend that at least 50% of the additional descriptors are evidenced in the portfolio. The apprentice, the ATP and/or the employer must be confident that the portfolio evidences each of the required descriptors. The portfolio must include at least one piece of evidence for each descriptor. Each piece of evidence may map to more than one descriptor. The portfolio will be submitted at Gateway to DSW, who will review the evidence and use it to help them prepare questions for the interview. The portfolio is not graded and feedback will not be provided prior to the interview. A date and time for the interview will be agreed at the planning meeting following Gateway approval. The interview must be at least 4 weeks after the portfolio is submitted. The toolkit provides further guidance on what type of evidence can be included in the portfolio and a steer on how to ensure that evidence is sufficient, authentic, relevant and current. Context statement. When we refer to a context statement, we want to know what the apprentice has done in a specific situation, who, what, where, why and when. Build a picture behind that situation and pull on pieces of product and performance evidence which demonstrate exactly what's been done in relation to the context statement. It's a great way for apprentices to bring all of their evidence together and give a more rounded picture of what they're capable of. They do need to make sure they corroborate what they've said in their context statement with evidence, as the context statement is classed as anecdotal. Evidence types. The portfolio must include a minimum of at least one piece of evidence against each of the descriptors. They may find that some evidence covers multiple descriptors and that some descriptors require more than one piece of evidence in order to meet them in full. We're looking for quality rather than quantity, having the apprentices think about examples of specific situations they've been involved in which would allow them to demonstrate multiple areas of the standard, so they can cover several past descriptors within one piece of evidence using a range of different evidence types. Types of evidence. As you can see, there's a wide range of evidence types and this list is not exhaustive. We do ask that videos and recordings are a maximum of 2 hours within the portfolio and they will need to be time-stamped in the referencing document. Portfolio-based interview. The interview will take place between the assessor and apprentice and will last for 45 minutes. The apprentice will be asked a minimum of 10 questions with up to 2 follow-up prompts per question. These questions will be based on the examples given in the portfolio. Example questions can be found in the toolkit. The interview will be held in an environment free from distraction via an online video conferencing platform such as WebEx or Zoom, as advised by the independent assessor. You may ask to use an alternative platform if necessary. It's strongly recommended that the platform is tested prior to the date of assessment to avoid technical problems and ensure familiarity with the platform. The apprentice may bring notes and a copy of their portfolio into the interview for reference. It's recommended that apprentices review the content of the portfolio prior to the interview to make it easier for them to refer to it during the assessment. DSW will issue the grade and feedback to the training provider within 5 working days of the interview. Grading. Each assessment method is graded either distinction, pass or fail as follows. To pass the knowledge test, the apprentice must correctly answer at least 30 questions. To achieve a distinction in the knowledge test, the apprentice must correctly answer at least 40 questions. To pass the project improvement presentation, the apprentice must fully meet all 7 core past descriptors and any additional past descriptors for which evidence is not being provided in the portfolio. To achieve distinction in the project improvement presentation, in addition to meeting the pass criteria, the apprentice must meet all 8 core distinction descriptors and any additional distinction descriptors for which evidence is not being provided in the portfolio. To pass the portfolio-based interview, the apprentice must meet all 14 core pass descriptors and any additional pass descriptors for which evidence is being provided in the portfolio. And to achieve distinction in the portfolio-based interview, the apprentice must fully meet all 15 distinction descriptors mapped to the portfolio-based interview and any additional distinction descriptors for which evidence is being provided in the portfolio. To achieve an overall pass for the apprenticeship, each assessment method must be graded a minimum of a pass. To achieve an overall distinction, each assessment method must be graded as a distinction. Resits and retakes. The endpoint assessment will typically be completed within a maximum of 3 months. Apprentices who fail one or more assessment method will be offered the opportunity to take a resit or retake at the employer's discretion. The apprentice's employer will need to agree that either a resit or retake is an appropriate course of action. A resit does not require further learning, whereas a retake does. Resits and retakes are not offered to apprentices wishing to move from pass to a higher grade. There is no grade capping for apprentices who fail an assessment method. Timescales for a resit or retake are agreed between the employer and EPAO. A resit is typically taken within 3 months of the EPA outcome notification. Thank you for watching. We hope this has been helpful. As always, we're happy to help if you have any questions or need any more information, so please do get in touch. You can email us at info@dswapprenticeships.co.uk or give us a call on 01302 760 008. Thank you.